But no one, including Stigwood and the Bee Gees, could ever imagine the unprecedented scope of its extraordinary success.
It took them to another level. You had Stayin' Alive, you had Night Fever, you had an album that was staying at the top of the charts for weeks, weeks. And this was a 2-disc soundtrack. All the singles went to the top of the pop charts. If they were popular before, they exploded with this one soundtrack. The success of Saturday Night Fever showed America and the world that disco music was here. Whether you walked into your favorite boutique at the mall, whether you went to a record store, whether you went to a club, whether you turned on the radio, whether you opened Time or Newsweek or Billboard, disco was everywhere. The movie and just the whole phenomenon surrounding it, it brought the worlds of fashion and music even more together than they had ever been before.
People would go out, just like John Travolta in the movie, go out and buy a new shirt just to wear to the club that night, just to dance. So people would go out and buy suits. Everybody in the club came in dressed. There was no sneaks, no jeans. Everybody went out and put their best outfit on. Ladies would go buy a new dress. So this was the good, positive thing about dance music that they don't have anymore. I mean, now you go to a club, you don't see guys walking around with suits on, shirts that's, starched up nice.
It was not what some people think it was now when you go to some of these events where they dress up with orange hair and plaids and polyesters. It wasn't that.
You don't realize it, but people hear with their eyes. So if they're seeing something fabulous, they're hearing something fabulous, you can't help but be affected and have like infectious, type of thing. It just drives you, makes you feel fabulous.
Success breeds imitation, and after the fever broke, there was an onslaught of disco-themed movies. Shifting the locale from an East Coast disco to a West Coast club, and the action from Saturday night to Friday night, Thank God It's Friday attempted to capitalize on the overwhelming popularity of Saturday Night Fever. While most cinematic portrayals of disco were fairly one-dimensional, the real social phenomenon of the movement was its ability to bring together people of all colors and orientations united in the name of fun. In 1977, producer and composer Jacques Morales took notice of the macho styles that were trendy among gay revelers in the notorious Christopher Street hangouts of Greenwich Village.
They called it the Village People because these were stereotypes of the village. These characters you would see in the village. He was trying to create a group for the gay community.
Jacques was a very unique individual. First of all, he was fascinated with American culture, he was fascinated with American film, he was fascinated with American music, and he was fascinated, being gay, with American men. Felipe's character, Felipe, essentially is what sparked the germ of an idea for a group with in Jacques' mind, because I think he saw Felipe dancing on a bar in some club in the village.
That first record of theirs was very inside. They didn't have a group.
There was no real group that was identifiable at that point. Those were the first songs that were presented to Neil by Henry and Jacques when they got their deal with Casablanca. Those songs got their deal. They released that album without really having a real group, but they had a sound. It sold in the black, gay, and Latino clubs that summer, over 1977, about 100,000 units. And that was successful enough that Neil said, okay, listen, we want to do another record with you, but you got to have a group. You got to have a real act. You got to have a real group that can go on TV and perform, a real group that you can put out on the road and perform. And that's essentially how we all came about.
He had this one idea, and it turned into that idea. He didn't get what he wanted, but he got something more than he wanted. He got a big pop phenomenon, because that's what the Village People are. They were a pop phenomenon.
We took the aspect of Chippendales. We were, 6 nice-looking guys. Some of us still are. And we had various states of undress. The Indian, of course, was probably the most undressed, but we all took our shirts off or ripped our shirts open at points during the show. So we took that little aspect of a slight strip tease.
The appeal of the group is based on a very simple premise that there's something up there for everybody.
My character is one that keeps order with the group, You know, I like fatigues and all, and I decided to build on it. Like kids, when you were growing up, man, everybody wanted to be a cowboy or in the army. That's sort of what Village People was about.
What we did was fun. What we did was comedy, essentially. It was comedy. We took these characters and we gave them a little twist. We gave them a wave and a wiggle, and we gave them a little bit of comedy. And we sang and danced while we perpetrated those images.
You could look at Macho Man. You could look at In Hollywood, San Francisco, songs by Village People. Lyrically, somewhat ironically, they were talking directly to that gay underground audience. But then you can have a song like Macho Man then be embraced a couple years later by America mainstream at football games, you know, at baseball game during halftime.
The Village